what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records. And this weekend, I watched the new HBO two-part Billy Joel documentary called And So It Goes. I love documentaries. I think I've done a show on my favorite documentaries, music documentaries. The Billy Joel documentary is really good. There's two parts. They're each 2.5 hours long. I love in-depth documentaries that really go into every era in full detail, and this does. And it jumps around from talking about, when he starts and what started his musical career, and then flashes back to his birth, explains that, then maybe goes up to the next present time, and then flashes back to his father being born. I love the way it's structured. I love, again, the heavy detail and all the things that I learned about Billy Joel. I've been a Billy Joel fan since I was a kid. My parents had The Stranger on tape. We'd go on long road trips, and they had this on cassette, and they had the follow-up, which is 52nd Street. Listen to the track listing, for instance, on The Stranger. Moving Out, right? Anthony's song. The Stranger with the whistling intro. Just the Way You Are, just a beautiful ballad. Scenes from Italian Restaurant. Flip it over. We have Vienna. Only the Good Die Young. She's Always a Woman to Me. Just unbelievable. Here's the back of that album with his classic band of the time of the 70s. The documentary really just hits home with how legendary this guy is. A lot of times when we have a guy that's been with us our whole lives, I'm 52 years old, Billy Joel has been a star my whole life. You kind of take it for granted that they're there and they have these songs, and he just has a plethora of songs. So this documentary goes into the details of the bad record contracts. I had no idea that he was in a band with a guy named John Small, who was married with a child, married to Elizabeth Weber. And she ends up falling in love. They end up falling in love with each other while John's at work and so forth. They're on long walks, and next thing you know, he's in love with his best friend's wife. They run off together to California. She becomes the manager. They absolutely struggle to make it, and in a business where your first recording contract is worthless for you. You make no money. He puts out Cold Spring Harbor in 1971. Cold Spring Harbor is an area where he grew up on Long Island. He was born in New York City in 1949, grew up and lived and lives on Long Island. Cold Spring Harbor, has songs like She's Got Away. Everybody Loves You Now. All songs written by Billy Joel, all music written by Billy Joel, all lyrics written by Billy Joel. One of his contemporaries at the time, and really Elton John came before Billy Joel. Famously, Elton John doesn't write lyrics. He writes music, and he uses the Bernie Taupin's lyrics to put these together. Billy Joel did both. Billy Joel had been in rock bands, even a heavy metal band called Attila before he ends up going solo, and then finds out with the help of his wife that his music, his piano music, his style is good enough to be a star in his own right. She is his muse, and he writes songs about them. The second album, Piano Man, 1973. Songs like The Ballad of Billy the Kid, Captain Jack, right? Which is a long 7-minute epic. And of course, Piano Man, which is 5.5 minutes, becomes his signature song. It's autobiographical about him working the bars in California, barely making it, describing the scenes that he sees in a bar, in a piano bar. His third album, Street Life Serenade comes out in October of 74. Again, the Entertainers on that, right? Root Beer Rags on that. You know, even though Piano Man had come out on the album before, he's still really without a hit because Piano Man really takes over as his signature song kind of later. It doesn't really chart as well. His next album, Turnstiles in 76, has songs like Say Goodbye to Hollywood. They're getting fed up with the Hollywood lifestyle. They want to go back to California. We have the great New York State of Mind that he wrote while he was driving. He describes how he wrote it. Just wanted to be in that mindset again. Miami 2017's on it. Say Goodbye to Hollywood. Again, New York State of Mind. You're starting to build a repertoire of great music. And then finally, the next year, The Stranger comes out. We talked about this album. And everything comes together. Everything comes together with his band. And, really, the rest is history. He goes from playing small theaters to starting to play arenas. And he's now, by 1978, selling out Madison Square Garden. Prior to that, he did Carnegie Hall, which was a big deal, a big theater. The next album, 52nd Street, big shots on it. Honestly, My Life, Zanzibar. And a perfect side one, right? Stilettos next. And problems are starting to creep into his life. Stiletto's kind of a dig at his wife. Big Shot, also kind of a dig. And certainly by the late 1970s, his marriage is over. She's no longer the manager. And you get into part two, another 2.5 hours. The part two is much, a little darker. It gets into the fact that he was married 4 times. And the problems he had with alcohol. And the problems that a lot of rock stars have with fame and success. In 1980, he puts out Glass Houses. Songs like You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy. Again, a song written about him driving a motorcycle home, smashed out of his mind, barely getting home. And You May Be Right, I May Be Crazy. But, what else is Don't Ask Me Why's on that. Great song. It's still rock and roll to me. The next year, again, it's tour album. What is the next record? Live album's next in 81. Then the Nylon Curtain in 82. Allentown. Allentown on that one? Yeah, Allentown's on that. Laura, Pressure, Good Night Saigon, which was a song that he wrote kind of for the Vietnam vets. Scandinavian Skies is on that. Again, you're just going through the discography. Innocent Man's next with, of course, the great title track. This album had 7 released singles. Tell Her About It. Uptown Girl, about his new muse, Christy Brinkley. This Night, An Innocent Man, The Longest Time, Leave a Tender Moment Alone, Keep the Faith. These songs are kind of in a doo-wop. By the way, the critics don't like his music most of the time. Even they didn't like Innocent Man. He got bashed in that, right? The bottom line is the guy's got 2 bona fide double disc greatest hits packages. Volume 1, Volume 2. Who can say that? How many people have done that? He finds out that his father had left him when he was 4. His father moved back to Vienna, where they were from Germany, escaped. They were Jewish, escaped the concentration camps. He was raised by his mother. Father moves back to Vienna. He ends up finding his father, finds out that his half-brother is a conductor. The man's a genius. The Bridge comes out in 86. What's on that one? This Is a Time. This is a Time to Remember. This great song. Baby Grand that he did a duet with Ray Charles. And then finally, I think in 1990, he releases... Well, Stormfront comes out in 89. Stormfront has... What was on Stormfront? Leningrad, the Downeastern Electra, We Didn't Start the Fire, I Go to Extremes, and So It Goes. You know, these are just huge records, all of which have big hits. And then finally, in 1993, releases his final pop album called River of Dreams, which of course had the title track River of Dreams, had Lullaby, which was a beautiful song that he wrote for his daughter that he had with Christy Brinkley. He ends up composing a symphony that he's very proud of. Of course, he's had the famous tours with Elton John. I've seen him a few times with Elton John. I've seen him 3 times just by himself. The man's an American treasure. Again, I love documentaries. This is definitely in my top 10, maybe my top 5. It's just so in-depth. And what a legend Billy Joel is. Thanks for watching. We talk about only great music here on Intersection Records every single day. Check out the documentary about Billy Joel on HBO. Peace out. See you.